All right, Brandy. Many of our colleagues would like to do more speaking, and they would like to be able to serve their dental professional colleagues at a higher level, maybe helping them navigate the way based on something that they've learned along the way. And often, many of our colleagues don't want to add more travel. I'm sure you probably, like me, would rather not add a whole lot more travel to want to be able to stay at home. While all of this, while we're building our business and also wanting to build more of a supportive community, it feels like it may be a big ask. Tell me your thoughts around maybe a potential solution for that.
Well, I have four kids, as many of you know. So leaving at the point in time where I created my answer to this exact problem was a little more difficult, and life is always changing. But one thing for sure is if we can add a way to do more business with as little effort as possible, then we really want to. So what I have found to be an absolute fantastic way for my community and my business is I created a virtual study club that people are able to sign in from, carpool, cooking dinner, or sitting on the couch watching with popcorn, no distractions present. And it's turned into such a fun activity for me to do because I offer it from September to April, chunking it in the middle. So it's 2 seasons every year. But on a Thursday night from 6 to 7:30 is when we are on live. So I have a couple of prep hours and then a couple of post hours. I'm able to do an entire speaking event from the comfort of my own office. Like you guys, we just join from right here, and I usually have a background up. But
Yeah.
Vanessa, it's been such a great way for me to add 8 speaking gigs a year. 8, just like that.
Boom.
And I sleep in my own room. Oh,
Yeah. And you choose the day, you choose the time, you choose all of it.
right. And so what I would encourage everyone that's listening, if they have something in their mind where they're like, I would like to do some more, my plate feels full, I would wonder, okay, what about something that you can do on your own terms, like a newsletter, a podcast, or a study club, depending on what area of competency you're serving your colleagues and professionals. Those are going to vary on that. As a dental hygienist, as a clinician, obviously continuing education is something that all the dentists and the dental hygienists need. And so that's what works great for me. Now, once you figure out what you want to do, newsletter, podcast, study club, then that's where it gets really fun because you can just put a date on the calendar, schedule it, and start working towards the things that you need to have in place for that to come to fruition on your own terms, in your own time.
Mm. So for what we got in there was a little bit of how to get started, right? It was just just go ahead and like kind of jump in is what I'm hearing you say. So I know you've been doing this now for about 4 years.
Yes, we're just getting
Eight
ready.
seasons.
Well, by the time this airs, we'll have just finished season 8.
Wow. Wow. So 2 seasons a year. So along the way, I anticipate you've learned some things, right? So I remember you just jumping in and figuring it out. And so maybe you could tell us a little bit about how it's changed. And if you don't mind sharing with us some of the tips and tricks that you've learned along the way, that'd be fabulous.
Right. Okay, so step one, you get the idea and you're like, I need to serve my community. You pick the thing and you set the date. That is great. Then you show up and you realize, oh, great idea, but it still needs some work. So for example, when I first started doing this, I had planned to charge a small fee because I was providing a continuing education credit. And there are some fees, the Zoom or StreamYard, whatever platform you're using. If you're using a CRM to communicate those emails with your tribe, there's just those fees that are associated with putting something like this together. And so I started with charging a fee to the attendees. But as the sessions went on, I realized that I was going to be able to reach a bigger audience if it wasn't cost prohibitive for the attendees. About 65 to 70% of my attendees are hygienists because I have that RDH behind my name. And they really appreciate complimentary continuing education. But in these courses that I was teaching or having people guest guest teach, interview panels, all of those different venues were a perfect opportunity for some of the products and services that I use in my own practice to partner with.
Yeah.
So what we did was came up with a sponsorship plan. So the companies that I love and share a mission with got to reach their target audience as well with their and you know me, I mean, I operate from the heart. So I want to work with people that want to serve the patients, want to serve the clinicians because it's the right thing to do. So I partner with those people. They're excited to be there and help grow the community. And many of the companies, Vanessa, I'm guessing that you've had a lot of experience with this. They have a specific budget for this type of activity because they're trying to grow their reach and like Care Credit is in what 98% of all dental offices across the United States. And so there's so many opportunities for us to work together to support one another. And man, continuing education for my community has been fabulous. I get emails every single time I offer a course about how grateful they are that they
Oh,
get to come to a fun CE that wasn't out of their own space, but they felt lifted up and inspired and served, and it wasn't a huge commitment.
and there was no cost
And
to them.
there was no cost to them. So you can see how it just starts
Yeah,
creating this storm of goodness where
right.
everybody is benefiting. And I love it, Vanessa. This has been one of the most fulfilling parts of my business over the last 4 years because
Oh,
yes, I love to travel. Yes, I get to speak in my hometown sometimes. There's all these cool parts of what I'm getting to do. But this project where my audience, my community that I've been able to grow, they see me serving them firsthand, and I feel like they see my heart. They feel loved and they feel excited to go back to work, which, I started this in 2020 and there was a lot of fear. There was a lot of just angst maybe of people not knowing how they felt. And honestly, so we lost 7.5% of our workforce as hygienists. This was a hard time.
mhm.
And so to get people excited to go back to work, right there is a phenomenal return on investment of my time and my dedication.
Mm,
So,
mm. Ah, love that. Love that. So most of our listeners are going to be colleagues of ours, speakers and consultants in dentistry as well, right? So let's talk a little business strategy behind this. Because what I'm hearing you say is you found a great way to partner with sponsors that
mhm.
gives them huge value, and bring big value, and it brings big value for those who are your attendees. Now, I have attended your sessions before, and we're not talking like 15 people here. We're talking like 10 times that each time you hold one of these, right? Which is a long way from where it started, I would anticipate, right? Like over time, and you learned. So to recap, you learned for your audience, it worked best for them to not have to pay. They register and then they keep coming, right? And but yet you're still getting paid for your time, well, for your time. And so that's fabulous. So strategy for our colleagues behind here. You were mentioning too, whether it's a study club or if it's a podcast, could be sponsored. If it's a newsletter, which is so interesting to me. Like I've recently been seeing this too. Sponsorship associated with anything where we're reaching out to our audience. I think it's such an interesting idea. I think that our sponsors are wanting more and wanting to be creative and trying to find ways to get to those that they need to be in front of. And I love that you're offering this as a very unique and exciting way for them to do something other than sponsor at a meeting, right? Or throw money at a speaker to be that they're sponsoring, which I don't really have a question in there as much as like recognizing and wanting to draw attention for those listening. Um, this is a hugely viable idea. Obviously, you've been doing it for
Well,
4 years.
and it takes regardless of whether it's a newsletter, study club, podcast, we can have 3 words, or a dental practice or a home. It doesn't matter what we're looking at. It takes a community for it to survive and thrive. And
Mm,
so rather than looking at it as I have to do this all by myself, it's I'm excited to do this and I'm going to need some help.
mm,
I'm going to need some help. And don't we all always? As parents, as hygienists, as business owners, like none of this happens alone. So if you have like what I did with the study club, and then now we're bringing the sponsors in. So the sponsors get an opportunity to engage intimately with people who would absolutely be blessed by their products and service, and consequently their patients, they're going to be blessed by these products and services. The whole conversation starts to become more well-rounded and robust because it does take that community to provide whatever it is we're trying to provide. And what I've found to be true is that the sponsors and the attendees and myself feel more supported. And when you look at the end of the day, I mean, I know we're here to do business for sure, but there's no amount of money that can buy fulfillment and satisfaction. So yes, I've been able to make a little bit of money off of this as a part of my business. And there isn't a price tag on how much more fulfilled I am in my career for having this community of both this. I love the sponsors and those attendees that are coming back time after time. I have currently between 1 and 300 people that show up live every time. And then the total registration just grows and grows over time, right? So, and then I record them. And so if people are registered, then they can request a recording. So I send dozens, if not 100 recordings out every time. And so all of the messaging that my sponsors are trying to help promote, and it's not a sales pitch, but the sponsors do interact and they do show up, and then they're on the materials, and then I talk about them just as part of the clinician I am, or part of the businesswoman that I am. So it's I feel like well-rounded is the way
yes,
to
it
view
is.
it.
Everybody wins.
Everybody's winning, but and and every time something feels a little like cringy, you have to, I use the word amoeba, you have to just work around it and figure it out. So when I first started, I knew that I wanted to bring different topics all of the time. But after 8 seasons, I've learned that not only does it need to be different topics, but it also needs to be different styles and different delivery. So
Oh,
sometimes it's a presentation, sometimes it's an interview, sometimes it's a panel. But people, I mean, just human nature, we get a little bit bored.
shake it up.
And so, so shake it up. And, Zoom changed their licensing laws. And I used to be able to just have a big Zoom room with everyone that wanted to attend. That changed. And so I had to change my membership with Zoom, and now it's more of a webinar. So as things come up, you just have to bob and weave. My study club doesn't look anything like it did 4 years ago. And the essence of what we're trying to do, which is grow the community and serve the community, is still there and is the heartbeat of it.
Mm. Now, you won't say this, so I'm going to say it for you. And I think what this has really done too is it elevates our stature as an influencer when we do engage in these type of community building, more visible activities. So I'm going to leave that as my last thought. And I would ask you too, is there anything before we head back to the room that we haven't covered that you would like to leave us with?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to say it's helped me improve my skills as a speaker and as a facilitator. I am still working on both, trying to gain skill, but I'm a much better interviewer now. And that is surprisingly a handy skill to have in our communities. So I get really excited about all being fun. But on the, business girl side of things, it's like I've really made a lot of personal growth in my craft as well. And not just that I'm better at it, but I'm also more in tune with who I want to show up as and feeling since it's my project, I'm showing up as me, right? And that is
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you. Let's head back into our room. Here we go.
thanks, B.